So tell us about your product market fit, right? So initially you started out, I guess, being a more of a consumer facing platform, right? How did that kind of evolve into what you are today and just, the twist and turn of that journey?
Yeah, so Lawtrades started off as like the ZocDoc for lawyers. So if you guys aren't familiar with ZocDoc, it's like basically this directory of dentists and lawyers where you could browse through their real-time availabilities and book an appointment with them. So I made a version of that, but for booking appointments with lawyers across all different types of practice areas and categories. There was a couple of like learnings with that, which is one, um, don't go super broad. To basically market to every single type of law was an absolute nightmare, especially given that it was just basically me. Then eventually, 6 months later, I got my co-founder involved, but we were doing divorce law, we were doing personal injury, we were doing bankruptcy, and it's just kind of like each one of those like requires its own separate like go to market and strategy, and there's no possible way that two people can kind of figure that out. But we had a business, we had real revenue. That's one thing about Lawtrades is like from day one, no matter what, we had revenue, and we made that work one way or another. Even if it wasn't the perfect product market fit. So we sold this subscription to lawyers where they can add this little booking widget to their website, and they were basically able to convert their traffic more efficiently because people can book a real-time appointment with them, and they could get like a free consultation with that lawyer, and they've gotten them a lead. But as I said, it was too broad, and I didn't want to be in the lead gen business, and that's kind of what I found myself getting into, which was the more lawyers we signed up, the more leads we needed, and it just ended up just being like an unsustainable model. And I always knew I wanted to build a marketplace. We just didn't have the resources at the time to build like a matchmaking algorithm, a chat app, a payment rails. Like we just needed a launching pad to get to the next step. And I think ultimately I knew even then I wanted to work with the biggest companies in the world, but like I just knew like I had to do it step by step and eventually sort of get there. Um, so we basically made this iteration into a marketplace model for small businesses and startups. So everything from like your local barbershops to YC companies, they would come to us and be able to, incorporate your business, file a trademark. And we create this really amazing product flow that was very Amazon-esque. Like you could go onto the website, search for any sort of legal project you want to get done, see an immediate flat fee price, uh, buy now, pay with your credit card, half upfront, half when the project's done. And it was a beautiful product experience. And I think like light years ahead of anything else that was basically out there. And we raised our seed round off this idea. The problem was that our retention was absolutely terrible. Most small businesses and startups go out of business in like their first year, right? So that in itself was like fighting against the current. And then frankly, if you are an early stage startup founder, you're not like waking up in the morning just going like, I can't wait to spend lots of money on legal right now, right? Like that's probably the last thing on your list. Like you're trying to hire engineers, developers, you're trying to get to ramen profitability. Like you're not like legal is not really top of mind. So there's always just kind of like this hesitation to sort of use our service and it's like it is what it is. But the problem is like we were working like 10 times harder because not only were we doing a marketplace startup, which means like it's a regular startup times two because you have two different customer sets and you're trying to find liquidity for it. But because our revenue wasn't sticky, every month we would have to rebuild our revenue from scratch, right? So like we got it to like I think 200 or 300K a month in top line revenue, which I think is like not bad given like the small team and like the small like round that we raised. But we knew it wasn't sustainable. And I think early on, like again, my intuition coming up again was just sort of like we need to find profitable customers. And eventually we discovered this one user that was using our platform every single day. And he had this title called General Counsel. And I had no idea what that title meant. Was he an army general? Was he like a lawyer? I had no idea. I had to Google it. Found out that these people are basically in charge of all of the legal operations within a company, and they use legal services like crazy. And they're always looking for a better alternative to a law firm that's cheaper, faster, better. And he ended up being the general counsel for this company called Equity Zen. Hopped on a call with him, and we were just like, "Why are you using the platform so much?" And he was just like, you need to get rid of the buy now project button. I just want to work with this lawyer for the next 6 to 8 months, and I'll pay you guys like a monthly fee. And that's when the light bulb moment went off, because this guy was basically spending, I think at that time, at least like 100x more than like any other customer that was like on our platform at the time. So we made this gigantic pivot again of like building out this still a marketplace, but something that's built around delivering professional services over the long term for ongoing relationships, something that's enterprise friendly for customers, a differentiated supply side where like people were not really looking for just one-off projects, but actually like ongoing work that they can like sustainably earn their livelihood off of. And then a dashboard that allowed people to sort of collaborate and transparently see who's working on what, and like more spend analytics and more communication tools. And it started with a Google Sheet, that pivot. And then now it's kind of like, this big whole fancy algorithmic driven platform. But before that, it was like steering the ship. And I think we did it right at the perfect timing, because we were running out of cash. Yeah, we grew the business back from like nearly dead to about a $10 million revenue run rate, and still growing.
It's awesome. So you talked about the big pivot. One thing that I always get reminded of, if you have, let's say, like 30+% attrition, you're dead in 3 months, basically, if you don't get any new customers, right? So you have similar issues where unless you get new customers and continue to grow your customer base, you basically will die in a certain time period. So
yeah, exactly. And we didn't have like the cash to, like, we had some cash, but it was like a never ending battle of like, spend more money on AdWords, get a bunch of customers, 30% like churn, and then spend more money on AdWords. And like, and it was just like an unhealthy cycle of growth. And I think that, a lot of founders don't really see that harsh reality or that harsh truth and actually do something about it. I think that there's some level of delusion that it's going to sort of figure itself out. And with just this feature and this improvement, it's like, no, like it's not incremental improvements that's going to fundamentally change your unit economics. It's a gigantic shift in your product, in your customer segment, in your way of thinking. And it sucked. We had to, at that time, this is like, I think 2018 or something like that. We pretty much laid off almost everybody in the team. And this is like obviously pre-recession or anything like that. But like, that taught us a lot of valuable lessons that we even to this day use. We're extremely paranoid about churn, even though like our business is healthy. It was cash flow positive last year. We're still looking at each and every dollar that comes in and each and every dollar that leaves. And I think that really shook us. But it's in our DNA now.